Hello. Let's make sure we're going. Clicking record. Today's practice is all about mindfulness. And if you joined me for the practice on, it was last Thursday. What was the date? Actually, it was last Friday, April 22nd. We did mindfulness practice, and it was mindfulness to deal with pain. Today we're going to do a foundational mindfulness practice. So what we did, actually, let me go back to the beginning. So what is mindfulness? Let's talk about that. Mindfulness is, let me just make sure that this is going through here. There we go. Yeah. So mindfulness is a skill, and it's not just something that happens in meditation. It's something that we do. Sometimes we do it when we're not aware of it, and we practice it in meditation so that we can apply it in real life. And what mindfulness means is that you're paying attention in the moment without what's happening in the moment, without applying judgment or without, sorry, things are happening on the screen here. It's distracting me. Well, let's try this. Here we go. So mindfulness means that you're paying attention to what's happening in the moment without applying judgment or storylines or biases. It's like you are an objective witness to what's happening in the moment. And it's not that in the practice of mindfulness, and it stems from Buddhism, it's not that we think that there's something wrong with emotion or judgment or storylines. It's just that sometimes we have knee-jerk reactions. So we're observing something that's happening, and because we're applying judgment, because we're applying a preconceived notion or a storyline, we're not seeing the truth. It's like we're wearing smudged glasses or like pink glasses or green glasses, and we're not observing what's really happening in the moment. And because of that, we might end up having a knee-jerk reaction, an overreaction, or believing that something is happening that's not really happening. And if you're like me, you can look back through your life and you can go, oh yeah, I remember a time when something happened or somebody said something and I made a snap judgment and I was wrong. I didn't have all the facts. I wasn't observing it as an objective witness. And as a result, I got myself in trouble. Or I treated somebody else like they were doing something wrong and they hadn't really done anything wrong. So you might be able to think of examples from your life where you didn't see what was actually happening. And so that's why we learn to be mindful. We observe what's actually happening in the moment without applying any preconceived notions or judgment. And the practice that we did last Friday, mindfulness for pain, what we were doing is we were observing the pain in a neutral way. So the thing about the word pain is it's loaded, and it's loaded with emotional connotations. And if I'm observing what's happening in my body, my shoulder, whatever part of my body it is, and I'm applying that label of pain, that's going to have a negative connotation. It's loaded with stories, especially if it's chronic pain. If you've had it for longer than 6 months, there's going to be a lot of background stuff associated with it. And so what we were doing last week is we were applying a neutral label to whatever physical sensation was occurring in that area of the body. So it might have been something like swirling, and we would stay with it. As long as it felt like it was swirling, stay with it and repeat that in your head, swirling, swirling, swirling. And maybe it shifted and it changed maybe to pulsing, 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 or heat or pressure. One of the things that I didn't mention last Friday was some people might perceive it as a color. So maybe you're perceiving it as pink or gray or black or a texture, or maybe it's a shape, a triangle or a circle. None of those labels have emotional connotations. So what we're doing is we're shifting to observing this as an objective witness, rather than getting drawn into and caught up in an emotional storyline about what's happening in the body. So I'm just going to share my screen here. People who are dealing with chronic pain have three issues that they're dealing with. They're dealing with a problem with their body. They're dealing with a problem with their nervous system. So when I'm talking about nervous system, I mean your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. And I talked about this extensively in the presentation that I gave on April the 10th. So you can go and watch this if you'd like to get a better understanding about this. The third thing that people with chronic pain are dealing with is the emotional responses that are conjoined to the first two things. So it's really hard for us to experience chronic pain and not attach emotion to it because it's been going on for so long. Maybe it was the original thing that happened. Maybe it was a car accident. It was very traumatic, or the pain has created problems in our lives and there's emotion attached to it. So that was the purpose of doing that practice last week. And one of the people that did the practice, the feedback that she gave me was that there was a challenge. It was a challenge to find that neutral label, to actually take on a witness consciousness towards that pain. And that totally makes sense. And what can help you to get there is to do more practice of mindfulness. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're just going to do a straightforward mindfulness practice, and we're going to take away any sort of emotional scenario that might be attached to it, because people have emotional stuff attached to pain. So we're going to do a foundational mindfulness exercise. We're going to focus on the breath, and we're going to learn how to apply mindfulness. And if you've done a lot of mindfulness before, this is a great return to doing a foundational practice. If you've never done mindfulness before, you can do this. I would suggest that you do this practice for 7 to 10 days. You can do it every day. It's a short practice, and it will help you develop the skill of mindfulness. And then you can shift and you can do that practice that we did on Friday, April 22nd, and you can shift into applying it to the pain in your body, or the swirling or the pulsing or the heat or the color or the shape. One of my favorite analogies for mindfulness is, it's a boat analogy. So I imagine myself sitting on the edge of a river under an oak tree, and there are boats floating by. And there's something different going on in each boat. The first boat that's floating by is like a party boat, and there's people on there singing and dancing. There's musicians. It's kind of like a big Mardi Gras. And I can see, I'm observing, I'm acknowledging everything that's happening there. I'm seeing it in vivid detail. And I'm making a decision. Do I want to stay on the riverbank under the oak tree, or do I want to get onto that boat? And I have made a choice. I'm going to stay on the riverbank. Even though that looks like fun, I'm going to stay here. This is where I'm feeling like I want to be right now. Another boat floats by, and it's full of cranky people, and they're whining and complaining and yelling at each other and getting irritated by every little thing. And all of a sudden I realize I'm on the boat, and there's cranky people all around me, and I'm being cranky too. And I'm like, how did I get here? It was completely unconscious. So I was not making a conscious choice there. I just got drawn into the cranky boat. So now I snap to it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be mindful now. And I'm going to go back to where I want to be, which is sitting on the riverbank under the oak tree. And then another boat floats by and there's a bunch of people reading. Do I want to read right now? No. And then another boat floats by and it's people getting massages. Do I want a massage right now? Well, I like a massage, but right now I want to stay on the riverbank watching the boats float by. And so when we do a mindfulness meditation practice, that's what we're practicing. We're just thoughts, feelings, images, stuff will come up when we're practicing mindfulness meditation. Humans experience thousands of thoughts every minute. That's who we are. It's what we do. We can't stop thought. So that's a sort of a misperception about meditation, is that you're going to stop thought. And occasionally you might be able to do that. Some people can do it, but there's no pressure to do it. What we're doing instead is we're acknowledging the thoughts and we're letting them float on by, and we're coming back to focus on the object of our meditation. And in this case, the object of our meditation, or the subject, is the breath. You can also meditate on, you can keep your eyes open during a mindfulness meditation, and maybe you're focusing on a candle or like a, what do you call them? Shoot, I can't think of the word. It's like a circle diagram. Maybe you're focusing on something like that. Or you could do it while you're watching the sunset. And every time a thought floats in, you let it float by. Instead of getting wrapped up in it and drawn into that storyline, you just let it float on by. In this practice, we're simply continuously returning to the breath. Okay, so my live stream is still going. I just wanted to, before we do this mindfulness practice, which you're going to be doing sitting up, by the way, I just wanted to mention something that's going to be happening in about a month or so. I'm going to be launching some beta programs, and I'm going to be launching a beta program that focuses on pain relief, and a beta program that focuses on relief from anxiety. And the beta program is going to last about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. And I'm looking for 10 people in each program. It's going to be a structured program, and I'm looking for people who are willing to commit to it, starting last week in May, first week in June-ish. And people who are willing to commit to doing about one session a week with me that will last about an hour. We'll do a group session. I'll present some information, and then you would be doing a daily practice, 12 to 15 minutes a day of meditations, guided imagery, breath work, 5 days a week, 12 to 15 minutes a day, plus that 1 hour session. So again, 10 people in each program, and in exchange for you helping me develop the beta program, I'm offering it for half price. So you're getting the content in exchange for giving me feedback, helping me, giving me information, what's working, what's the best way to deliver the content, how often it should be delivered, what's working most effectively for you in terms of your schedule and all that sort of thing. So the pain program could be anybody who has chronic pain or you're recovering from an injury. The anxiety and stress is pretty much anybody who's having chronic anxiety or stress. I'm hoping to focus on women who have high stress jobs, executives, entrepreneurs, women running small businesses, people who are super busy and you're feeling like, I got so much going on, I'm in overwhelm, I'm dealing with this anxiety, I don't have a lot of time to deal with it, I don't want to go to do psychotherapy, I don't want to go deep, I just want something it's kind of like candy every day. The practices we're going to be doing 12 to 15 minutes a day to help get relief from anxiety without spending a lot of money, without spending a lot of time, without putting yourself into emotional overwhelm, just a sweet relief. So it's approximately a 30-day program. So I'm looking for people to commit to that. If that's you, if you'd like to join the beta program, please send me a message on Facebook, or you can email me. Here's my long email. It's jenniferbountifulyoga@gmail.com. So JENNIFER bountifulyoga@gmail.com. And I will be reminding everybody in the Facebook group, and maybe doing a little video on it, and on the Facebook page too, reminding you to sign up if you want to get in on this program. The results we're looking for is anxiety relief, pain relief, easy, simple, straightforward techniques without a lot of time commitment or having to do any sort of deep psychological stuff. Psychological stuff is sometimes what you need to do, and it can sometimes help, but maybe you're in a position right now where all you want to do is it's kind of like a magic pill, right? You're not taking a pill, it's not medication. So we're using these mind body techniques to work through pain and to work through anxiety. Okay, let's get into this foundational mindfulness practice. So seated for this one, and you can sit on the floor. If you're comfortable sitting cross-legged on the floor, you go right ahead and do that. As long as it's not going to bug your knees or your back, you could sit on a cushion on the floor, or you can sit on a chair. I like doing mindfulness seated on a chair. I like doing meditation seated on a chair. I just feel more comfortable, and I feel like I can straighten my spine more. So get yourself in a position, seated. Turn off anything that's going to ring. And part of the mindfulness practice is actually taking the time to get your seat established. So shift around, place your feet flat on the floor if you're sitting on a chair. Get a blanket if you think you're going to get cold. Shift your weight from side to side, get yourself comfortable. Let your hands either palms down on your legs or palms up, whatever feels appropriate for you. Sit up tall, lengthen your spine. And you can either gently close your eyes or you can gaze down towards the floor. And here we go. So finding a balance between feeling alert and relaxed. Let your hands rest somewhere comfortably. And then take a few full deep breaths, either breathing through your nose or your mouth or both. And then let your breath settle into its own easy, natural rhythm. And now become aware of your body. Feel your feet and your legs against the support beneath them. Notice what your hands are connected to. And feel the set of your shoulders. Notice the muscles of your face. Let the area between your eyes relax. Allow a little space between your teeth. And let the corners of your jaw relax. Let your belly feel soft and unconstricted. And now come back to your breath. And let your awareness rest on the area of your face where the breath is flowing into and out of your body, either your nose or your mouth or both. And once again, take some full deep breaths. And then let your breath flow with ease. At this point, if you can, breathe in and out through your nostrils. And now become aware of some of the qualities of your breath. Notice if your breath makes a sound. Notice if it has a texture. Is it smooth and even, or does it have breaks or gaps? Without applying judgment, just noticing. Feel the air in your nostrils or throat. And then let your awareness move down into your body and notice where your body is moving with your breath. It might be your chest or your ribs or your belly. And let your awareness rest on that movement for now. It may be very subtle. If it helps you to connect, you can place one or both hands on your belly. You may experience this movement as a rise and fall, or pressure and release. Let yourself continue to focus on this area where you feel the breath most dominantly. And any thoughts that come to claim your attention, notice and acknowledge them, and then let them float on by. You are focusing on your breathing. Now become aware of the flow and rhythm of your breath. Observe how it's continuous, eternal and effortless, in and out, up and down, rising and falling. See if you can experience the cycle of breathing in its entirety. And you may notice that your mind has wandered. Thoughts and images may arise. And whenever you notice this, very gently and with compassion, return your attention to your breath. You are breathing. You are breathing. Feeling the sensations as the breath comes and goes. Let yourself experience your breath, one breath at a time. If you like, you can focus on the area in which you're feeling your breath most dominantly. Maybe at the nose or the mouth, maybe the throat, the chest, the ribs, or the belly. And continue to rest your attention lightly right there. Sounds and sensations, feelings and thoughts will come to claim your attention. Let them float by and come back to the breath. Without judging yourself for a wandering mind, simply and with kindness, guide your mind back to your breath. And every time your mind wanders away, very gently bring it back to your breath, just as if it's a puppy. You've told it to sit, it gets up and moves. You bring it back, you tell it to sit, it moves the other way. Very kindly, you pick it up with patience and tenderness and love, and you tell it to sit. Noticing the experience of your breath, one breath at a time. And if something happens that shifts your attention away from your breath, see if you can softly let it float by. Perhaps like clouds in the sky floating by. You observe the clouds, you notice they're there, but you can let them be, let them float by. Let them pass by without getting pulled by them. They exist, they have their own space, and you can let them be. Just like clouds, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and sounds will come to request your attention, and you can take note of them, but then let them float by. You are breathing, you are breathing. And anytime you notice that you're lost in thought, just come back to the breath. And before we bring the meditation to a close, give yourself some appreciation for having been patient with yourself, for having been compassionate with yourself, understanding and kind. Take a few deep breaths and slowly come back into the room, gradually opening your eyes and bringing with you those qualities of patience and compassion and kindness. And when you're ready, take some full deep breaths and stretch and move any way that feels good. All right, well done. You can practice this foundational mindfulness meditation a few times a week. You can practice it every day. And when you feel like you want to go back to trying the mindfulness meditation on pain, you'll find that on the Facebook page, and the date for that one is Friday, April 22nd. I'll see you next time. Namaste.